Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with a daily race on the American servers. Now this race was streamed live, as a lot of people know, a lot of the time I do start from the back. I don't set a qualifying time on the American account while I'm trying to rank it up. This was actually still a top split race. It was when I was still a rated driver when I did this, but it was a top split race and we're starting from, I think it was like P15. There was like 18 cars in the race. We probably started a bit higher than a few of them because we were higher ranked than a few behind us. So no qualifying time set, and we're going to try and see if we can get as high a result as possible. We're aiming for the win. However, obviously that is going to be very hard. You can see managed to gain a few places straight away from the start, and P12 looking quite erratic there, and went round the left, and he gives us a little nudge there on the corner. I don't think he expected me to try and go around that side on that corner. Obviously I saw that he was looking a bit erratic and I wanted to get past him as soon as possible, so we managed to get that done, and now we're working our way down the long straight and coming up to the chicane. You can see P11 and P10 just ahead. Looks like P11 is going for that slipstream, and it looks like he's going to go for a move just before he gets to the chicane. Will he be able to go for that? We can see them battling away and coming, a lot of fighting going on there, contact going on there. And obviously when I seen that, I was thinking I need to get past these quick as possible. But on the exit there, he kind of moved over a little bit, and a little bit of contact there, so prevented me from being able to get that slipstream and drag my way past P10. So we're going to have to sit behind on the straight, and we're going to go for a move before we get to chicane. We do a fake down the right to make him think we're going down the right hand side, so he tries to cover that off, and then we put ourselves on the inside line going into the braking zone, and we make that move stick. A nice move there into P10. So far a very good start to this race, and now we've got the slipstream to P9, and we need to try and get past these cars as soon as possible if we've got a chance of winning this race. You can already see on the minimap that P1 has actually started to pull away quite a lot. I've actually moved the replay camera to the bottom right hand corner for this. Obviously this is all recorded from replay footage as we're going around the outside of P9, and a really nice move there on the outside and managing to make that move stick into P8. So yeah, we've moved the map for this race because obviously we got the borders in, so I can put that the TV replay camera into the bottom right hand corner and show the mini map to show you where everyone is on the track. Obviously it's a bit different when we're doing gameplay footage because the brake bias and other stuff are in that bottom right hand corner, and I think there's some information there that you probably want to pay attention to when I'm racing live. So this race was obviously driven live on stream, so if you do want to check that out, I'm going to leave the link for the stream that we did this race on, so you can check out the live footage. You'll see it's quite actually intense as well as we're battling through. We get past another driver there where he's made a mistake, so we're up to P6 already. But what you can see on the mini map, straight away you can see it in that top right corners, the big gap now to P1. This is going to be having to drive really solid as we try and go around the outside, as P5 made a mistake there. That move was never really going to work, but I thought I'd have a little look. And now we're going to try and put him under a lot of pressure to see if we can get past P5, because P5 and 4 are right in front of me now, and then we've got quite a big gap to P1 and 2. So if I can get past P5 and 4 as soon as possible, as P4 looks like he's braking, or I don't know whether he's braking really early or what there, but we just go for the move and get past straight away, as P4's looking really uneasy through them last corners. We go to the inside, take another position, and now we are up to P4 in this race. So quite a nice opening few laps, and now we just got to make sure we can hold on to this position as we go into the braking, and P5 gives us a little punt into the braking for the chicane, which was a little bit unfortunate. I don't know if it was deliberate. I don't think it was deliberate. I think he just outbraked himself with the slipstream and give us a little nudge into that corner, but luckily we get away with that, and we're still in P4 with a lot of work to do to see if we can take the win in this race. Obviously I do normally do these races on the intention of trying to see how high we can get up in the races. Normally the aim is to get in the top 5. We're already into P4, so far this race was going really well. I mean, we've only just completed one lap. We've still got quite a number of laps to go to the finish to get into P1. However, you can see on the minimap there is quite a big gap. You can see P3 is not too far up ahead, just about half the straight up ahead, so we should be catching him up before the end of this lap, maybe be able to make a move on P3 to get ourselves into the podium position, and that will be an achievement already in itself. I think I do like driving this Redbull X 2014. However, this track is not really one of my strongest tracks Le Mans. I do like the track, I love driving it. However, it's never really one of my tracks that I'm particularly amazing at. It's not like other tracks like Monza and stuff like that, where I'm a little bit more competitive. This track tends to be a little bit weaker for myself, but I really do enjoy driving this Red Bull car. It's really good fun. So much grip and downforce. The speed you take into the corners are absolutely insane. You can see going into the braking, we're braking so late down from 220 miles per hour, and you just slam on, the car just instantly grips and bites. A really enjoyable car to drive, and I do like driving cars with high downforce. They do tend to suit myself. I do like to drive the faster rated cars like the Group 1s, the Group 2s, and obviously this Red Bull. It's really good fun as we're now approaching the real tricky section of the track. Now this is the section where I can make a lot of time up on some of the drivers, because this is all obviously about entry speed into the corners, exit speeds from the corners, and like mid apex speed. So I've got to push really hard now. As you can see, we're getting close to catching P3 up before the end of this lap. You can see he's just out of slipstream reach at this phase of the lap. Hopefully we can pick that up as soon as possible, because then if we can pick that slipstream up, get past P3, then we've just got to just home in onto P1 and P2 with some clear air. And that's what I needed to do, was obviously just keep on it at this stage. You can see really pushing through this sector, driving flat out through there. No need to lift in the Red Bull. It just has insane grip and downforce. You can just take that completely flat in 7th gear, no lifting at all. It's just absolutely crazy speeds that you take through there as we come into the braking zone for the last few corners. As P3 looks like he's made a little error there, we're going to attack that curb, get on the pound nice and early, and we're going to actually go past P3 as it looks like he's getting rid of a penalty there. He had a penalty to get rid of, and that puts me up into P3 now. So we're in the podium position already as we're starting lap 3, and we've got a couple of laps now to try and catch up to P2 and get past P2 as soon as possible. You can see on the mini-map P1 and 2 are quite a bit ahead. You might be able to see him in the distance, yet you can't really see him yet on the track. They're a little bit too far away, but if I can just pump in some really good lap times now and work my way up to them, as you're going to see now, this is now the phase where you've got to be really consistent. Obviously the tyres are starting to take a little bit of wear from obviously the overtaking, going offline a bit, driving quite aggressive on them first few laps, and now we've got to really keep the consistency. You can't really afford to make any massive errors, and that's the main thing. If you make any little errors that lose you 1 to 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it's going to make the task of getting to P1 pretty much impossible. It's very hard to get this done anyway, as it is going from the back of the grid in the top split race and getting yourself into P1. But it is possible at a track like Le Mans, because obviously it's quite easy to overtake on the straights with the slipstream. You get off the other cars, and now it's just a case of concentration. You can see I'm going to try and hit the braking points exactly as we come to the last board on the right hand side, braking a little bit past that down into 4th gear, holding 4th gear through there just to try and save some of the tyre life for the end, because I was pretty sure that I might need the tyres towards the end. So you're going to see driving aggressive but also driving as smooth as possible at the same time to try and keep. What the thing is with this car is, when you drive it really aggressive, if you start sliding it around a lot and braking a little bit erratic and getting the car sideways and on the power, losing traction, it does spin the rears up, and you do lose a lot of tyre life out of the tyres. I did find in a couple of races when we were battling away and we had incidents where cars were like bashing into us and we're sliding a lot, the last laps were really tricky. The car was like becoming loose through all the fast corners. However, if you look after the tyres, you do find that it actually stays fairly stable, and you can actually stay on it pretty much all the way to the end. As you can see there, driving pretty much perfect at this point in the races, not really making too many errors, hitting the corners reasonably nice. Obviously not driving a maximum 100% time trial attack type of lap, but we're hitting the apexes, we're hitting the braking spots pretty much perfect, and that's what I needed to do. As you can see, definitely gaining quite a bit on P1 and 2. You can see on the mini-map there's still a reasonably big gap to P2, as we can't even see him yet in front of us on the screen on the main camera. It's not actually in view yet, so it's just a case of really pushing. You see in that bottom right corner, the speed that we take through these corners is absolutely insane in this car. It's an incredible car with insane downforce, as we're now coming to the end of lap 3 to start lap 4, and only a couple of laps now after this to really see if we can get into the lead of this race. It's going to be really close. I wasn't really sure at this stage if I was going to be able to do it. I think if you watch the stream, I was confident that there would be a chance if I just kept my obviously head down and kept consistency, but obviously any little mistake, which is not the, this car is quite easy to make a little mistake because it's so fast. You're traveling at such speeds. If you miss a braking point by a millisecond, you can miss it by such a large amount and you end up just running wide. These corners in particular, very tricky corners. If you hit the curb too hard and then run out wide, it will send the rear out and you end up spinning off the track. We're obviously keeping this video completely on the gameplay, even though it's from the replay, but we're going to keep it from the onboard, just to show you how like consistent you need to be to do something like this starting from the back of the grid. Obviously these races are not really high rated lobbies. It's still a top split race on a daily race in the American lobbies, and obviously if there was faster drivers in here this probably wouldn't have worked, but there were still reasonably fast drivers in here. It's just a case of like, if there would have been the top American drivers in there, this wouldn't have been possible. I would have been able to maybe get into the top 5 or so, top 10, depending on how many of the good drivers are in there. But so far though, still driving really well, and that's all I can do is just try and make this work with the people that we've got in this lobby and see if we can get ourselves into that P1. You can see again, looking at the mini-map there, they're still just, you can see P2 just coming out that corner there, so you can see now, once you can visually see a car, I find that really a lot of motivation, because once you can see the gap, you can then visually start seeing the gap decreasing as you're getting closer, and it kind of builds confidence up and makes you drive a little bit. But I find it makes me drive better and more consistent, because I normally drive faster because I can see the gap getting closer. I become more motivated, I concentrate more, and you really start concentrating on every braking point, every entry point into the corners. And you can see I'm driving really well in this X2014 at the moment, not really making any mistakes, which is not easy to do. It's such an easy car to make an error with that you tend to forget how fast you're traveling. You're looking at this 220 miles per hour into a flat out right hand corner where we're going to brake just as we come off the exit down into 4th gear, then on the power as early as possible. A little bit of overseat, you can see the tyre wear kicking in now. That's the issue now. We're going to start getting a little bit of tyre wear as we come into the end of lap 4 now. The tyres are obviously feeling the best way to do this race was the no stopper, obviously, because a lot of people will know this by now. I think we've mentioned it so many times at Le Mans. The Le Mans pit lane entry loses you a lot of time, so if you go in for a pit you tend to lose so much time that if the race is only 5 laps, then it kind of isn't worth doing. As you can see through these fast corners, just look at the way the car's bouncing up and down and really just carrying some insane speed through there, even with the tyre wear. Nearly 200 miles per hour on the exit of that corner. That's just incredible speed. As you can see now, P2, he's just reeling him in every corner, and P1 is only a little bit ahead of that. You can see just up ahead, P1 not too far in the distance. So we're now on to lap 5, and we're coming through to the last few laps in this race. Are we going to be able to do this? We've got 2 laps to do and get ourselves in the lead. We're about 4 or 5 seconds behind P1 at this stage. Remember, if you want to go back and watch the race with all the obviously the lap deltas to how far away we was, you can check out the live stream. I will put it in the description for you. As P2 has a little bit of an error going through that corner, that's going to give us the ability to try and get past. However, it kind of lost me a bit of time, so I had to back out through that flat out right hand corner where he had lost speed and momentum, and then I had to lift, because if I would have gone flat out through there, I would have ended up just completely hitting the rear of his car. But we managed to get on the inside, into the inside for the braking zone for the right hand corner, and that's where we want to be, obviously going into right hand corner. So he's going to try and hang it around the outside. Not really going to work from there. You're not going to be able to hang it around there. He tries his best to hold on to that P2, but not able to do it, as we have another massive moment of oversteer on the exit of the corner there, where we got the rears just slightly on the curb there, where we've obviously took a compromised entry into the corner because we haven't come from that full width of the track with P2 holding that left hand line. So now up into P2 now, and now we've got to close down P1 in just over a lap and a half to do this. You can see the gap we've got. P1 obviously a reasonably fast driver, so we're going to have to keep on this all the way to the end. All we've really got is straights at the moment. We're going to have to do most of the gaining on P1 through the last sector and the first sector of obviously the last sector of lap 5 and the first sector of lap 6. That's when we're going to be able to gain on him. As you can see, this corner also, if you get the braking right and get on the power nice and then you can gain a few tenths there, and we actually did that really well. And now we can see P1. This is the motivation you need when you're going to try and do this from the back of the grid. And, you know, daily races are never easy to do this when you're placing a top split, but once you've got P1 in your sights, you get the motivation to really keep pushing. As you can see on that bottom right hand corner, sparks flying up everywhere, game looking amazing as usual on GT Sport. As we go into the braking zone, down into 4th gear, just trying to get on the power nice and early. You can see the tyre wear kicking in. just being a bit more cautious on that power now. We don't want to make a massive error. We just want to keep it nice and smooth and keep the car on the track now all the way to try and see if we can get this task done of starting from the back of the grid and getting into the lead of the race. However, it's coming to a point now where we've only got the last sector on lap 5 and the first sector to really make the grounds up on him in terms of the handling through the corners, pushing more through the corners, carrying more speed, because after then we've just got straight lines which you're not going to gain massive amounts of time on the leader. So you can see driving 100% through there, really carrying the speed, even with that tyre wear really kicking in, still carrying 200 miles per hour through there. Absolutely insane downforce in this car, and when you keep it smooth, you can see now we're still carrying the speed through the corners. If we drive really aggressive and start sliding it around a lot, you can't carry that type of speed through the corners. It starts getting too loose and then it scrubs speed off. But you can see now, so close to picking that slipstream up. But are we going to be able to get on that, get into his slipstream before the first straight? Driving really aggressive through that chicane. Run a little bit wide there, nearly losing the rear on the power. It looks like P1's had a little bit of an issue on that chicane getting on the power, and this has give us now the slipstream. Are we going to get past him on the first straight? See, coming out this corner, he's got reasonably good exit from that corner as we push flat out now through the flat out right-hander, and now we're going to pick up that slipstream, but it doesn't look like we're going to be close enough to make a move on the first straight. But if we can just keep the car nice and stable through the chicane up ahead, we should then get the slipstream to make a move on the next straight. As you can see now, getting closer and closer and closer. We're not going to go for the dive on the inside here. I've played it quite safe, back over to the left hand side, give myself a nice entry into this corner. There's no point trying to move there and losing too much time, and now it's just about trying to stay as close as possible on the exit of the corner. Obviously a lot of loss of downforce when you're this close behind the X 2014, because it's got so much downforce. When you're in the slipstream you do lose quite a bit, but now we're in that slipstream. We're going to go and fake a move down the right hand side, then cut back on the inside. He goes double defensive a little bit there, but we go back around the outside, and now we're going to have to try and do it late on the brakes as possible. We brake really late and just about hanging on there on the brakes and get it into the corner in the lead. So a really nice move with a little bit of oversteer on the exit, but that's put us into P1, and now we've just got to keep this car on the track and keep the lead. Obviously P2 now has our slipstream. Will he be able to hang in there with the slipstream advantage that he would get from my car to the finishing line and possibly make a move before the finishing line? Going into the braking zone, we're cooking that up nicely, hitting the apex really nice on the entry, and then on the power nice, and it looks like we might just have a little bit too much speed off the exit for him to really get close enough by the end of the straight. He's just still picking that slipstream up. You can see on the bottom right hand corner on the camera, you can see that he's in the slipstream range, just not really close enough to pick up a massive amount. And now we're coming through to the handling section, so we should be able to break out of the slipstream completely. It looks like we've almost broke it completely now. Anyway, maybe we got on the power early enough. It's very close. He's probably within a second, maybe just about. But going into the braking now trying to hook up this right hand corner to get on the power nice and early, because this would be his only real opportunity and overtake on this straight, but he's not close enough. We've managed to break that slipstream, and we're on to the final sector, and now we've just got to keep it nice and calm to the finishing line and take a very, very rewarding win from a daily race. I think it's one of I really enjoyed this, because obviously fighting through the field and trying to keep the car on the track when you're coming up against cars that are slower and stuff, it's not always the easiest thing to do. And we drove a really good race there, and we're going to come to the finishing line and take the P1, which is really rewarding. I have to say, I did really enjoy this race. So remember, if you want to check out this live stream on the channel, I will leave the link in the description. We go through the final corners, hitting the apex really nice, and we go over to the right hand side, went to do a little handbrake turn but didn't pull it off, but we got the win there. We come away with a very nice win from starting from, I think it was P15 on the grid. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you leave any comments in the comment section, and also make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed the video. I do appreciate everyone that gives these videos a thumbs up. We're obviously going to be streaming some FIA practice as well over the next few days, and probably going to be doing some more of these starting from last place once I'm used to the track for this week's daily race. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll be back very soon.